felt very fed up about the job. I didn't find them inspiring.
And I have to decide whether to keep my company first or think of the life of the employee.
It means responsibilities, it means commitment, it means grinding.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Nalikes Podcast. I'm Talha Asif, and each episode we bring you insightful conversations with the founders and builders who are shaping the future of Web3. Our goal here is to educate and inspire Web3 founders while showcasing what other successful founders are doing for their projects and startups. Please make sure you watch till the end as you learn practical and actionable steps that you can apply to your startups today. Today's guest is Steph Yeung, who is the co-founder of CryptoConnect, which is a Web3 recruitment company. And in today's episode, we'll be learning everything about hiring that a Web3 founder needs to know when he starts his startup or project. And Steph is also the first woman on the podcast. So thank you so much, Steph, for coming on. How are you today?
Hi, hello there. I'm very good. Thanks for the introduction. I really like the fact that you make it sound very epic.
Amazing. Yeah. I'm excited as well because so the whole purpose of this podcast that I started was I did not find a place where founders can come and learn everything about building a startup, right? Because as a founder, you have to be familiar with a lot of things, which is product development, marketing, go-to-market. And one important thing is hiring as well. Because myself, as a founder, I struggled to hire, right? I had to make mistakes. And then eventually I was able to figure out. So in this episode, in the next 40-50 minutes, my goal is to learn everything about hiring, because you have been doing this for a very long time. You have, helped some of the biggest companies hire the talent. So in this episode, I'll be asking you questions that can help founders figure out how to hire right, and then also candidates on how they can improve their resumes, their positioning, so they are more likely to get hired. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. But before we get into that, I would like to learn, who is Steph? What's your background before Web3?
Oh, wow. It's such a big question. So it's very challenging to answer. But to give you the most simple one, like before we started the Web3 recruitment, I've been a recruiter myself for over six to 7 years now. So before the Web3 recruitment, I used to recruit like tech, like Web2 tech company. There is a long period of time that I was hiring for insurance company, but because I'm from Hong Kong, and for the financial services and insurance sector, it was a huge thing. Therefore, I spent a lot of time hiring actuaries before entering Web3 recruitment.
Got it. Steph, why did you decide to go into recruitment? Is it something that you just accidentally fall into, or was it something that you thought, this is something I'm naturally good at? Why hiring? Because it can be painful. I've been there. Trust me, I know.
It's super painful. Like, honestly, if you ask someone as a kid, no one will tell you, oh, I want to be a recruiter in the future, right? So I think, like many people, I fell into this trajectory quite accidentally. Before I went to the I worked before I even started working. I was actually a full-time Thai boxer in Macau. And
Very
then
nice.
and I felt like, oh, it was just too tough and it's too physically demanding. So I went back to Hong Kong and started to do some job hunting. And because I was studying abroad for my bachelor degree, when I went back to Hong Kong, very intuitively, I was thinking, oh, maybe I can do something about education, because like studying abroad, it has a huge demand. And I think that I'm a very outgoing person, so very intuitively, I know that I want to do something that is more like a BD. So I went for an interview to an education consultant company, but they didn't hire me. But then fortunately, the owner at that time, he owned two businesses. One is the education consulting company, and the other one is a recruitment company. And I ended up working in the recruitment industry for 7 years now.
Got it. Amazing. So you fell into this, right? Because you're mentioning you were doing boxing, and then from boxing you came into recruitment. So that's quite a shift. Amazing. So I assume you were working for someone, right? Then how did that transition happening for you to starting your own recruitment company? Walk me through what happened after that. You when you were doing boxing, then you switched career, you started recruitment. Then how did that transition happening from working for someone, then starting your own company, and then where did Web3 come in?
Yeah, sure. Well, like just to give you a little bit background for someone that is not familiar with the recruitment industry, um, is a like an agency model, right? And it's a very grinding kind of industry. Like you're expected to make a lot of calls, and apart from that, I wouldn't say 100% of the people, but a lot of people in the space is very corporate, and I would say it's quite boring to me. So I really felt to a state that I felt very fed up about the jobs. Like people are very smart, but I don't find them inspiring, especially for some of the professional, like they will definitely fall into a very comfort zone where they will just stick with the same industry for basically forever. And honestly, I didn't know what to do. And I broke up with my ex-boyfriend, and he went to the same company as me. So I was like, oh, I really want to get out of the hell. Like, I hated my job. I'm single now. What should I do? So I tendered my resignation to my boss, and he say, "Hey, Steph, why don't you just stay here? Because I have I have very similar taste with you. Like I also don't like recruitment. I also find in recruitment there's a lot of flaws, and I also find some of the like I by that time I didn't know what's decentralization, but I like the agency kind of model is just middleman, right? You're just trying to distribute the right thing to the right people, and that's it. You don't give more value. Like it's always pretty transactional. And me and my boss, we both don't like a lot of things in recruitment. Of course, in recruitment we learn a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that we don't like. And then he say, "Hey, I'm thinking to build some product using blockchain. Do you want to give it a try?" So I was like, "Yeah, okay." I don't know where to go. I'm single. I have nothing to lose, so I was like, "Yeah, why not then?" And then I tried to learn crypto bit by bit, and I started. Actually, it was a one-man band trying to reach out to like the crypto clients all from scratches. And yeah, that's how I started entering the space.
Got it. So you were working at this company. For some reason, you thought, okay, I don't want to work here, and then your
Yeah.
at that time boss said that he's doing something in crypto, and he wants you to join in. When he first introduced you to crypto, what was your reaction, and what was your understanding of crypto then? Did you also think this is a scam, or get rich quick scheme, or what was your thought on crypto when you first learned about it, or you were already familiar with crypto before that?
Oh, I definitely don't think it was a scam because it totally wasn't the first time that I heard about it. I remember like a few years back before I entered recruitment, I heard about some people talking about crypto where was the price was less than 10,000 US
Uh,
per Bitcoin.
Bitcoin,
That was
Bitcoin.
yeah, the first time that I heard about it, it was very long time ago. So when he first mentioned to me, I didn't have any negative impression per se, but I had no idea what was that. Yeah.
Very interesting. So, this product, what was your role in that product? Were you responsible for building the team together, or what was your role in that specific product that you were building?
Oh, yeah, so there is two part. Like, I guess like for a lot of builders within the Web3 space, one of the most difficult part, or it can be the advantage is where they will build something new from scratch, where they find it interesting. for us, it was because we already have some domain knowledge. So we already have our Web2 business model, and we have the know-how, and all the thing that we need to expand is to build to build the infrastructure, as well as bringing this business model onto a Web3 business model, right? Therefore, there's two main trajectory for my role. The first thing would definitely be like still the recruitment, traditional side of the recruitment business, because it's still one mainstream of the income for sure, and also that's also helped me leverage some of the opportunity or network within the Web3 space. So on the Web3 side, um, I'm handling a bit of every day. It's kind of an entrepreneurial kind of role. I would say like networking, content creating, and I also actually it's very interesting. Right after you invited me for the podcast, I was exactly thinking to have my own interview with my network as well. The reason behind was because like a lot of my connections reach out to me saying like they're out of job, like because the economy, like the macro economy as well as the job market quite slowed down. And therefore I was thinking what are the things that I could value to my community. Then that's why I was thinking exactly the same. Like, maybe I can interview, some people.
Manifestation. Do you believe in manifestation?
For sure, for sure. Yeah.
Amazing. I want to stop you here. There's one interesting thing that you mentioned, right? You mentioned you're kind of an entrepreneur right now, because being a co-founder, you have to be responsible for everything. So given your background, from what you have mentioned, you were a boxer, then you went to work at a recruitment company as a recruiter, and then jumping into entrepreneurship. How has that transition been, and what's your experience being a founder? Because I personally know, and a lot of people that I know, they have very good things to say about being an entrepreneur. So what has been your experience about being an entrepreneur? You're responsible for almost everything.
Well, I don't know if my boss gonna watch this. I never tell anyone like so openly. In fact, like he was the first moment that I knew that he wanted to promote me as a co-founder. Like of course I was super happy. Like I was super surprised. I was flattered. I was over the moon. But then the first month I was officially a co-founder. That's where I would say the darkest moment that almost in my mind, in my time. It took me months, if not more than a year, to absorb that identity, because like it means responsibilities, it means commitment, it means grinding, it means adventure. Yeah, so I didn't know if I was capable for that. So from time to time I still have some self-doubt, but yeah, I also learned a lot from this throughout the journey.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So if you were given the chance to become a co-founder again, would you? Or a founder again? Or you're like, no, I want to stay away from it?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's something that quite imprint in my soul, I would say. I'm totally not the person that you tell me. Of course, I will ask for advice, but I'm not that kind of person who can follow through
Orders.
step by step. Yeah, I just
Yes.
couldn't do it. Yeah, and that's where I like to mingle with people in the space, because a lot of them they share similar values.
Yeah. And I think with time, eventually everyone will work for themselves, because no one really wants to, because again, in the past, companies had a different structure where they had to work on set times, but now we work remotely. We're result based, and eventually everyone will work for themselves. Because from what I've noticed, when you allow someone to work on their own, they perform much better rather than you telling them to do something. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So far, you mentioned that boxer, recruiter, co-founder, and then you kind of enjoyed this entrepreneurial thing because of the freedom that it gives, right? And you have this thing in you naturally. Now I want to fast forward to this recruitment company. Tell us, what is Crypto Connect, and how is recruitment different than in the traditional world and then in Web3? And then we'll start talking more about practical and actionable steps for founders when it comes to recruitment. But let's start with Crypto Connect. Tell us, what is Crypto Connect?
Sure, sure. Well, it's interesting when you say, like, I guess we share very similar visions, like how we envision, career or working as a big part of your life. We don't think in the future, like the new generations. No one's gonna work for a full-time job. And like a lot of builders in the space, I would say jobs are quite fragmented. The fact that like a lot of projects are fully remote, um, people can be based everywhere, and also there are lots of cross-disciplinary kind of position. Um, we envision in the future for the recruitment industry, it's going to be so different. And but then when you look back of the history in recruitment per se, it's actually invented in the UK, where back in the days there was no LinkedIn. People find jobs on the newspaper, and when the banks want to recruit, or when the manufacturer wants to recruit, they will need to hire recruiters to do a lot of headhunt calls to find those people, right? But there is not a lot of improvement on the whole recruitment industry, because there is no infrastructure being in place. Even there is a lot of technologies in place, it's still a very top-down approach where it's very one-sided. Technically, everyone can be a recruiter, but there is no incentivize to refer you someone. And therefore, for Crypto Connect, we are trying to build two things. The one thing is infrastructure, where we would like to have a P2P recruitment ecosystem backed by our token and the proof of quality kind of consensus mechanism in making sure everything supplied for the talent referral has certain quality. But how we put it further is this consensus layer will also be implemented on the on top of the app. So we will build a suite of recruitment products, like for example job advertising portal, as well as the refer to earn kind of product, to free the resources and to create a talent economy. That's what we are trying to build. Yeah.
Amazing. I can. So personally, I started my career as a freelancer like 5-6 years ago. I used to use these platforms like Fiverr and Upwork. Until date, now as an agency, we leverage them. But what I see as a problem is that there is talent, right, that is looking for work, and there are customers that are looking for their work to be done. But it's difficult for them to find, right? Right now in Web3, and you know more better than me, the way people find talent and how talent find work is through referral, word of mouth, or going on crypto Twitter or job boards. But there has to be some better way where we can connect people, right? Because I personally believe it's not like there aren't enough jobs, and it's not like that there isn't enough work. It's just that it's very I don't know what's the right word for it, like you said, fragmented, right? If we can somehow bring them together, we can improve the thing. Amazing. So, and then the thing that you mentioned initially, right, recruitment does not have any incentive right now, but with what you guys are building, and I'm pretty sure other people might be building, is that recruitment can become much more incentivized. Amazing. So let's get right into it. If I'm a Web3 founder today, or whomever might be watching, there are a couple of ways, right? When a founder comes up with an idea, they either bootstrap it or they go and fundraise, right? And either way, at some point, they have to hire. They either might need to hire a developer, they might need to hire a marketer. What they should do as a founder, right? Because let's say if you're a technical founder and you're hiring for sales, you don't really know what to look for, right? Because if you're a
Yeah.
developer, you know what questions to ask, where to look for. So walk us through step by step. Let's say so there's one way, right? They can come to a recruitment company, or they can just figure it out themselves. If you can just give them the step by step process on how they should hire, it will be really helpful, because there's a lot of non-technical people that are looking for developers, right? Because we do product development, and when people come to us, they're like, okay, we were looking for a very long time, we didn't knew that you existed. And I'm like, I was looking for customers and I didn't knew you existed. So walk us through what the process looks like.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think like for a lot of founders at the early stage, I talk to a lot of founders. Of course, they have problems and struggles in looking for the right people at the first base, at first. So like I saw a lot of founders at first, they will accumulate their own resources pool, because when your product is still new, you're still building the MVP, you might not want to invest a lot of money in hiring like full-time employees. And I know a lot of founders, they will just try to do the part-time engagement with different function, especially for the non-core one. Like for example, like UX UI, community moderator, so on and so forth. So it's good that if you could accumulate and keep good relationship with a list of part-time supply, so that you can make sure you have an ongoing workforce to work for you. And the next step when you're
So that is basically like having freelancers and contractors in your network to get the work done that is not recurring, right? Like you mentioned, UX design is like a limited work. So that's what you suggest first for founders, if they don't have any skill that they need for their product or startup, they can initially go for freelancers and contractors. But how would they go about building about it, right? Because some people that are social, they might go to events and find someone, or they can go to freelancing marketplace. But let's say if a founder has no contact, what they can do to get in touch with these initial freelancers and contractors.
Yeah, I think like in Web3, the one of the interesting thing is like don't never underestimate the effect of the community. So I would say a lot of people, like there are a lot of resources like TG group, Discord group, like Twitters. People are genuinely very keen on learning more about, oh, what are you doing? Who are you? And I really think people like that type of authenticity. If you put yourself out there asking for help, asking for advice, I think like as a founder, if you don't know a lot of people at the first place, just keep like utilizing, optimizing your own IPs. That's my suggestion. Yeah.
Got it. So if you were to make it actionable, you're saying, let's say if you're a founder and you need help from someone, start joining Discord groups, Twitter Space, and Telegram group, and just be open to helping. And this is something very interesting that you brought up. I personally have noticed that in Web3, when you ask for help, people just come together rushing to help you. Right? This is like the good thing about Web3. It's like people are not selfish. People think that, okay, money is involved in crypto and everyone is here for gains, but some people are here to help each other. And that is the good thing about Web3. Amazing. So we have that. Moving forward, you please continue. You were saying that what can a founder do to hire talent?
Yeah. For some, I would say medium size, especially for some founders where they already got some fundings, but not going viral yet, like at the early medium terms. I would say like having a streamlining the hiring process is super important. I saw some founders that after they built a team more than 20 to 40 people, where they reach about 50 people, they will have the next bottleneck of finding the right talent, because like there are no like they are not big enough to hire someone like an HR internally, but at the same time they really need some workforce to keep expanding the territory. But then I saw some that type of project, they will miss out a lot of good talents. Even they have the funding, even they have the right people being introduced, even they have the traction in finding the right talent. But because in the Web3 space is a very competitive space. If someone's already have like 2 years of experience, like being Web3 native, those people they could land in the right job in like 2-3 weeks. Therefore, if you are already like looking for someone, you need to make sure at least there's one person, even if it's not an HR, you need to find one person to centralize those resources and making sure every steps in the hiring process. Because a lot of candidates, they are in a different time zone, and you will need he or she to go through different stages, seeing different co-founders, different functions, BD, marketing, community, so on and so forth. There is a lot of communication gap where you would create horrible hiring process where you wouldn't realize because you are grinding behind the scene. But on the candidate side, they feel completely undervalued and they will just take another offer.
Yeah, I think you mentioned a very good point, right? Being a founder that has bootstrapped from 0 to 15 people. So I have like almost 15 people working for me. What I did to hire the first person and what I did to hire the 15th person was completely different, right? When you're in the initial stages, you're just doing things that don't scale. You're just trying everything. But eventually, like you said, once you get to a stage where you have either revenue coming in or funding coming in, you need to improve your process. And one way you said was that you can either get an internal HR department or you can work with a consultant. But you mentioned there's a process. So what does that process look like? Can you briefly explain? Like a process that founders can implement today in their startup if they cannot afford to hire and get an HR in-house. What does this process look like?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess the first thing is you have to already set a process for the interview. Usually there are three rounds, right? For technical, yeah.
Let's break it down even further. Let's divide it into sourcing. Like how do you get the talent to, like how do you start getting CVs in, or how did you start getting candidates to apply for jobs? So that's the first part. Then we can talk about the interview part, and then we can talk about the onboarding part. So let's start with this part where I'm a founder. I have hired few employees, but I want to streamline my process and I want to get quality talent, because you can attract a lot of talent that is not that qualified, but you want to attract highly talented people. And one thing I've learned is that it's difficult to convince talented people, right? If like you have to convince them to work for you. It's not like they will convince you to hire you. So that's the difference. And like that's a takeaway for founders. If someone is very easy to hire, it means that they're not the best fit for you. You have to convince them to join you, or they have to believe in what you're doing. So let's talk about how can I as a founder start getting people to come look for me or apply to this job posting that I've done. Talk about the platforms where the jobs can be posted, and which are the platforms you use, and what are techniques you use to get to the talent.
For sure. Like, of course, you guys can post on our product Job Ledger. Yeah, that's one of the like Web3 career job posting platform. But other than that, in the market, there are some other like crypto job portal that you can navigate. Make sure that you post job your job advertising your job advertisement on those platforms. Yeah.
I have a question here. So I'm very familiar with these job posts like Web3 careers, crypto jobs, and a lot of others. And some of these are paid as well. So I've been very skeptical on what kind of results you get. In your experience, does posting on these job portals help attract the talent? What's your experience with these job portals?
Yeah, that's like the problem of the demand and supply. Honestly, if you like you said, if you are very good, if you are like a top tier candidate, probably you will not need to upload your CV. I'm not saying like on job portal there's no top talent, but as a founder, you also have to have very reasonable expectation. Like, don't expect someone that already like know how to do everything. They will work for you, because like people who are already on the top tier, probably they already starting
doing
their own
thing.
project. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But then from my experience, do hire some people that haven't graduated or about to graduate. Those people, they are some of them, they are the most hungry, and they're the one who are most willing to grind, and they're the most humble people that you can ever find. Yeah.
Got it. So the way we can get, so let's, I'm going back to the process that I've created, right? The first part is getting people, uh, getting people to apply to your jobs, or getting people. So one thing you mentioned is we can go to these job posts, but what are some other ways where I, as a founder, can start getting CVs in, right? Because my goal with this episode is to make this actionable. So let's say if I'm a founder, I want to hire for multiple roles, I can go to these job platforms, I can post it there. What else can I do as a founder?
Yeah, like I mentioned, like go to like the Discord, like where you find your closest connections. People usually they are keen to refer you someone. You can have little bounty if they refer you someone successfully. I don't think it's a must, but I think like it will definitely increase the odds that you will get nicer referral. Secondly, like you can there are some TB groups that they have some people that looking for roles. You can also reach out to those groups. Just say, hey, I'm looking for ADC, uh, and are there anyone interested? And you will probably have some interesting conversation going on. And of
Got it.
course, you can find recruiters to help
Uh,
you in looking for yeah
yeah.
good
Uh,
people.
what what about cold outreach? Because personally, I've hired some really good talent with cold outreach, which means that if I find someone's profile interesting, either their portfolio or their LinkedIn or Twitter, I just DM them to come get on a call with me. What do you think about
Yeah,
that? Like just cold messaging people. Does that work for as well in widely?
yeah, of course. This is definitely, but I think it depends on the socials. I think in Web3 space, on LinkedIn, people are more responsive. On Twitter or on Discord, especially if you are not in that community, or if you are not a holder. I got banned all the time. People thought I'm a scammer. You can try. Yeah.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. Yeah, I've been there. Amazing. So the things that we have discussed so far, if you're a founder and you're looking to hire people, there are a couple of ways. First, you can go to these job posts, job boards, post there, and you will get some traction. But have clear expectation that the highly qualified candidate, they won't apply there. So, but if you, like you said, we can hire young graduates, people that are about to graduate, because like you said, they are the hungrier, they are coachable, and they are teachable, and they will be with you for a very long term because they want to build their career. The second way you said was that we can uh, go into communities or your personal network on Discord, Twitter, and Telegram. But like you said, there's a slight chance that you will get banned if you're not well known in the community. Third thing we talk about is obviously you can work with recruiters such as yourself. I'll add your link down in the description, and we can do cold outreach as well. All right. So with these four things, and there might be other as well, we can get the talent. So let's say we have a list of resumes, we have a list of candidates. How do we vet them? Because in my experience, Steph, what I've noticed is a resume cannot really define a candidate, because some people, they're really good when you see them in actual execution, but on resume they might even lie. And some people are really good in resume, but they can't do anything, and when they get start. So let's talk about the vetting process. So let's say you have these CVs or you have these initial calls. How do you do? Should we get on a call with everyone? Should we text and ask them questions? What's your process for that, like vetting people? How do you vet people?
Yeah, usually, I think as a founder or as a recruiter, you have to understand very clearly on what are the goals that you're having. Say, for example, for a BD person, someone that have experience as a BD in a NFT platform could be very different skill set or network for someone to be a BD in a DeFi per se, you know? Like the skill set is transferable, but then the network is different. So it as a founder, you have to have very clear expectation where you want someone in long term, someone grow with you, being loyal, having the loyalty with your project, or you would like someone to bring in XYZ amount of DAOs active users in 3 months. That's a totally different kind of mindset. So at first, I will not, of course, I will not get on a call with everyone, but I will ask, like, for example, as a BD, like I will ask, what are their clientele? What are the projects, partnerships? What are the closest network they have? What are the numbers of deals that they've brought in? And what are the figures? Of course, like some of the key achievement that they have established. You will be able to see very quickly where the network expertise, vertical know-how of this person, if that is a fit of what you're looking for. Same logic apply for other type of roles. For example, a marketing person. Marketing is a broad topic where you're looking for someone to be very good at building socials or very good at building community, or you're open for both. You allow someone to be very good at building community where they use the traction, drawing those traffic back to the social medias, or you want to find two different people in achieving the same goal. So you have to be very clear on what you're trying to achieve. One thing that I find is a lot of founders, they know the end, but they don't know the process. But of course, you don't have to be 100% sure, but that's where you could possibly start a conversation to gauge the logic of that person, whether it's share similar value or he or she previous experience would be very similar to what you're thinking to get there.
Got it. So if I were to summarize this, the way you can vet qualified candidate is first clearly know what are you looking for, right? And because but there is a knowledge gap here as well, Steph, is that let's say if I'm a developer, I don't really know what to ask from a BD. I can ask them at a high level what kind of partnerships they have done, but I really don't know how they've done it, right? So maybe one thing is that maybe you can either do your research, learn as much as you can, or you can bring it on a consultant, because sometimes what happens is that us as a development studio, and people reach out to us, they're not that technical, so they get a consultant involved, that kind of interview, and vet us as a team. So you're saying don't go get on a call with everyone, see their resumes and ask them what they have achieved, ask them questions about their expertise, and then once you have figured out, okay, this is the guy for the job, because you then have some criteria on what you're looking for, then only you can move to the next step. What does the next step look like? Is it like a discovery call? And how does that discovery call work? And what are you looking for? Because for me personally, I think I mentioned in the previous episode as well, I'm looking for high integrity, high energy, and high intelligence. These are three things I'm looking for, because everything else is teachable, right? Because if someone does not have integrity, it does not make sense for work to me, because then I'll have a highly intelligent crook that can cheat us as well. So let's say if we get the people on a call, what does that call look like? Is every call different? Because again, this is the first time you're meeting with someone that might be sitting in other part of the world, so you don't really know much about them. So how can you get a good understanding as a founder of, okay, is this a good fit? Because I think you can only trust someone when you work with them long enough, right? Because people say, I trust you. You can't really trust someone in the first one or two calls. You can only trust them when you work with them, right? And people are very predictable and repetitive. If they have done wrong things, they will do wrong things with you as well. That's for sure, right? But if they are good people, they'll be good people to you as well. So as a founder, when I'm on these calls with these interviews, right? Because again, I'm trying to cater to everyone, because not everyone have the budget to afford a recruitment company or recruiter,
Yep.
right?
Understand.
So they have to. They're very tight on budget. So let's say if they're on their call and they have zero experience with recruitment, how can they get to know the candidate or
Yeah.
figure out if they are the good fit?
Yeah, understand. Oh, I think that question's totally like brilliant. Therefore, like I would like to get back to where we were, where we need to probably put in place to have a more organized interview process. Like as a founder, like you said, I believe when you have the needs in start hiring, probably you have more than one person in your project, right? So you can set it for at least 2 to 3 rounds separately, and one person handle different things, almost like a good good cop, bad cop kind of thing to gauge, or it can be one person as a personality, cultural fit check, or the other person being the check for the technical or the domain kind of gateman engaging the thing. And one thing that I really like about in Web3 is people are genuinely much more authentic and real. And when you ask about the personality or integrity kind of thing, I think the good thing in trying to gauge what whether they are genuine or honest is you can show your struggles or you show some of your vulnerability first. When you start self-disclosing something, I think even it was an interview, I think the candidates will instantly open up and soften and say, "Hey, I feel the same. I've also gone through something, blah blah blah, but how I overcame this." And I guess like even is a very intangible internet kind of business. People in the industry, they are real. They want real connections. Therefore, I think a more like mutual way trusted conversation is very much needed in the interview process.
Got it. So you mentioned that, let's say if you have a couple of calls lined up, and one thing I've like, you can't really hire someone over text or email. You need to have a call with them, or at least if you can get them to meet in person, that would be very different. But again, we are working with in remote world, so that's not possible. But if you can meet people in person, that really tells you a lot. I mean, if just go have a meal with them, just go do an outing. Because one thing I've learned is you don't really learn about a person until you have traveled with them. This is something I've learned personally, is that when you travel with someone, the authentic uh, person comes out. When they're hungry, when they're tired, when they're frustrated, you get to know the other person. But that's not practical. Okay, so you mentioned that we can have a couple of rounds, 2-3 different rounds, and then like you said, if you're hiring, which means you have more than one person in your company, get someone to do the cultural fit. This is something that we do actually in our company. I'm the first one who does the discovery call, and I'm like the very kind person and open and friendly, and I'm trying to understand who they are as a person, what has been their background, are they trustable or not. And then on the other hand, my co-founder, he doesn't even in the second call, he's like straight faced. He's trying to get them to like, it's kind of intimidating for the candidates. He was asking technical questions to them, and then again in the end, I'm the calm cool, because again we want to show them that our culture is good as well, right? But you can't be really nice and happy without even qualifying the candidate, because startup is high highs and low lows, right? There might be days when everything is falling apart and you can't really keep up the good happy face, right? So you need to know how the person reacts in different situation. Amazing. So you have a couple of rounds, you get your team to do different things, and then if they're a good cultural fit, I mean, like every company has a different culture, every company has a different work environment. Got it. And then let's say you have hired them, and then you can onboard them. So but let's say once you've onboarded them, because one thing I believe as a founder, you should hire slow and fire fast. So let's talk about, let's say you've hired someone and they are not a good fit. What should founders do? Should they work to improve them, or they should just quickly let them go? Because this is something I initially struggle with as well, that okay, these people have families, I can't really let them know. But at the other hand, I also have a family, they're not performing and bringing in results. What should I do, right? I'm a very empathetic person, so I give chances to people, but you can't really give chances to someone who's not performing. So what's your thought on that? Let's say if I'm a founder and I have to decide whether to keep my company first or think of the life of the employee, what should we do?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think that's a super interesting and very critical questions. I would say, like I mentioned, I think people in this space, they are really honest and genuine people. I guess like, it might seems very cliche, but I think like an open conversation is very much needed. Honestly, I think if someone's that underperforming, he or she definitely knows that he's not performing. And if you have a comment, like if I were you, like I'm aware that someone's like not performing very well, I would almost start a very personal conversation with them and ask them, is this something coming up with their life? like there therefore I also put a lot of time in studying this, because like I took a course in counseling, and mental health is something that I very much care about. And I realized some of the practice in the Web3 space, it can be very mentally draining. The fact that you have to keep on track on Twitter, and like a lot different narrative every 3 to 6 months, everything changes, like the roller coasting mentality in the space, it really makes people very upset. It can be very mentally distracted, or people can be very upset. So I think it's a very normal cycle where people have ups and downs. And of course, like you said, as a founder, you also have your own business. You have to look at the P&L. You have to see whether the company is doing well. I guess like I would just encourage transparent communication, and transparent conversation is very much needed. And I bet like people in this space, they are very self-driven. If they want a 9 to 6 job, they will probably go to the office, work in the bank. Being in the Web3 already tells a lot. There is an embracement for some values, some values, and some of the belief. So I guess like you just need to tell them, hey, are you still planning to work on these, or do you want to rotate to the other job? This kind of conversation is very, it would help a lot, I think. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. And I tend to be on the softer side. It can be bad for business, but again, at the end of the day, they are people, right? Like you said, talk to them, maybe help them get a better opportunity in your network so they don't struggle. Because losing a job suddenly it can impact not only you, your family. Because personally, when I was the reason I got my start was that, so all my life I grew up as a really good kid, right? Because my mother was a teacher. She told me that, Talha, study hard. That's all you have to do, right? So for the first
Yeah.
12 years of my life, I just studied hard. I was always the top of my class. But when I was when I started university, my parents lost their job out of nowhere, and then I had to pay the rent, and then that's how I got my start. So I mean, as founders, when you are thinking of letting go someone, please be empathetic. They do have families. I know they might not be a good fit, but help them connect with someone in your network where they might be a good fit, or give them advice, or give them a really good severance package as well, just so they can have a couple of months more runway. Because I think that's something that I personally think that we should be kind to others. Yes, profit is important. Yes, scale is important. But at the end of the day, we are human beings, and we are here to have a nice time. And then eventually we all will go away. So make sure you're kind to people. That's just my takeaway. Amazing. Now let's talk about, as a founders, how do you figure out what to pay to someone? Because that was something it took me a very long time to figure out, like what's the market standard. How do you figure out? So let's say if I'm a founder, so we have talked about how you can find talent, how you can vet talent, and what to do when things don't go well. But how, as a founder, I should create their packages, right? Because when you're working with freelancers and contractors, they either pay you hourly or there's a project. But when you're hiring an employee, there's a lot of things that you have to take care of, right?
Yeah.
So first, let's figure out, how do you decide, like, what's the salary? Let's say if I'm a founder today and I want to hire a BD, or I want to hire a developer, how do I figure out like what to pay them, right? Because I really don't know what's the market price. I don't really know what they charge. So how can founders figure that out?
Yeah, like of course there are things such as market price,
But how do you figure it out?
Yeah, I understand that. Like I'm trying to give you a general picture. Of course, there are things called market price, but there is one thing that I find it quite tricky within the Web3 space, because people are based in everywhere. In every jurisdictions, there are different legal standards, and some of them they would expect, like every countries, every place, they will have different policy. For example, like in the US, they have 401k. In Singapore, they have like pension fund. I guess like as a founder, if you are hiring someone remotely, the one thing that you have to understand is whether this person, he or she previously have something guaranteed in their own country. Because like for some people, they care a lot about whether they are protected in this way. It's something that you can research about or tell the candidates, hey, can you tell me what's the standard in your country? Are there anything that we need to be aware of? That's one thing. The other thing is, it's tricky. The market price definitely has a reference point, but at the same time, it doesn't work that way because imagine someone living in the US where someone being a nomad in Lisbon or in Bali, the cost of living is totally different. So you cannot use one standard in putting into everyone, every person that based in different countries. So therefore, I think the other what's more fair and make the candidate or your employees to feel more welcome and comfortable and have a mutual long-term commitment is you need to ask them like the situations where how much they are paying the rent, if they are paying the mortgage, if they have kids. That's something that you need to be aware of. Ask them how much that they need for the basic to keep up their originally living standard, because you don't want someone after they join your company they will think that the quality of living has decreased, right? So you can have a conversation to ask, oh, how much that
Isn't
your
isn't that sort of unfair? Because let's say you have two people, one in North America, let's say USA, and one someone in India or Pakistan. They both have the same skill set, or even some cases, the one in India or Pakistan might have a better skill. Don't both of them deserve the same pay? Because at the end of the day, they're delivering the same results. Because from what I've gathered, okay, so as a founder, you can get to like if it's they are from US, so their cost of living is high, and
yeah
eventually they expect to get paid more. But if someone is in third world country, their cost of living is less, so you pay less. So isn't that unfair? I'm just curious to know.
that's why I'm not saying like that will be different, but you cannot compare apple to apple to someone that have totally different living environment. Not saying someone that living in the developing countries or underdeveloped countries they deserve to be paid less, but it's true that the cost of living will be also a bit lower. Therefore, therefore a conversation is very much needed. Like you can ask them like how much is the rent. There is a lot of website you can check like the normal like different tier of like the income, like how much that they should be paid, and you can the founders can use those website as some figures as a reference to start a conversation like that to come up with a reasonable package for both, so both sides would be happy.
Got it. Yeah, and one thing I've realized is that always create a win-win, right? Because if you hire an employee for, let's say, even you if you're able to get someone for a very low price, in the back of their head, they won't be at peace. Their always mind will be thinking, okay, how do I get a better opportunity? So what I've realized, it's best to give the other person whatever they want within the reasonable range that you can afford. Amazing. Let's talk about two things. Let's say as a founder, when I'm posting these jobs, should I keep the budget open? Because how much transparent should I be when I'm posting a job? Like, what are the benefits included? How much I am paying? Because one thing I've realized, if you want to attract top quality talent, you have to tell them how much they're getting paid. So let's talk about, should we post these figures and how, as founders, they can attract top quality talent? Because you as a recruiter might have a lot of experience. You can easily figure out an A player as compared to a B player. So give us
Mhm.
practical steps for founders on how they can identify and hire A players.
Yeah, I think like totally within the Web3 space, you have to be very transparent, like because this is the standard and people expect to see this kind of transparency. But at the same time, I would suggest like providing a range for the budget, because there's always that you always think that you're going to hire someone that have ABC, but probably ended up after a conversation, the discovery call, you will hire someone for XYZ, right? So, so the compensation will be slightly different. Probably you're looking for someone that have a totally different background, but you think, oh, hey, why don't we just try something new? Maybe you are from a marketing background, but I think you can also do partnership, right? So therefore, I think like putting a range would be more reasonable.
Got it. And then how can you attract A players?
attract.
As a founder, you can attract A player, identify like A player. When I say A players, like top performing candidates, right? Someone who will get the job done, someone who is best at their job, right?
Mhm.
Because everyone wants to work with the best people. So how can I get the best people to work for me? I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, I think like having a very clear mission statement is very important. There are lots of products, there are lots of noises in the market every day. Every day there is something new. Every 3 6 months there are new narrative. But I find that a lot of founders that they're not very clear about their own market propositions. Being first, and secondly, sharing your own track record is very much needed. Like yourself, if you could share with your employees, with your track record, like what you have achieved, and your own success story, I think very much people with the same wavelength will tap into that energy.
All right, so Steph, we have talked a lot about from the perspective of the founders on how they can find, vet, and hire talent, and how they can retain talent as well. Let's talk from the perspective of candidates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have tons of knowledge, and I'm pretty sure if you were to talk to a candidate, they might be able to get a job very fast, right? So let's talk about what are the common mistakes that candidates make, and what can they do to get a job faster. Just
Yeah,
share your
sure.
thoughts.
Sure. I think one thing for the candidate is you have to be very clear of who you are talking with. You need to understand for the stakeholder or at the start of the interview process, you have to understand what are the interviewer or the recruiters looking at. Because like I realize a lot of candidates when they reach out to me, of course I understand they are very keen on learning more about the role, and they didn't like when I look at the CV, they might not suitable for the roles, but they will keep telling you I I'm suitable for the role. So you have to understand very clearly on who you're talking to, right? If it's a technical person, showcase your technicality. If it's a business person, showcase how your technical knowledge will be valuable in the business development, like in the growth of the business. So knowing who you're talking with is very important. The other thing is people who are hiring in the space, they are very swamped. They are very busy. Apart from sharing with your CV, is good. It's always good that also tag along with your one liner or almost like a blurb, because people tend to not. People don't like to open links, don't like to open file within the space. So when you reach out, just say, "Hey, I'm Steph, and I've done XYZ. Are you open to have a conversation?" That's very much needed in having higher chance, so someone will be interested in having a chat with you.
Amazing. So the takeaway here for candidates that are currently looking for a job is know who you're talking to and know what they want, because I think that also applies in sales. So I, as a founder, I do a lot of sales, and that's technically hiring, right? Because I'm convincing every day for someone to hire my studio or my agency. I mean, initially it was difficult because we didn't have track record, but as we have built a big portfolio, remember when last time I was speaking with you, right? Things are very different now, because now I don't have to convince people to work, hire us, because they just see our work. But your thing was that know what they are looking for and don't really say you are a good fit or you're suitable for it, because they really know what's a good fit. Instead, ask them what they are looking for in a candidate. And people are very transparent. Like they'll tell you what they are looking for. They're looking for someone within a specific budget. They're looking for someone with a specific experience. So that's the first thing. Let's talk about other things as well. How important is it to showcase your portfolio? Because one thing, like one good takeaway for all the developers that are watching, just spin up your portfolio site, have your portfolio live. I mean, uh, if you just put your portfolio out there or just get a little bit active on socials, you'll start attracting opportunities. So in your experience, what can candidates do other than when they're talking to people to increase their chances of getting hired? What can candidates do?
Well, I think like having your own portfolio is super important. And and of course you will need a CV for like more established project. They will always need you to present a CV and make sure if you are active on socials, make sure that you post your Twitters or your Discord channel. It's very much needed. At the same time, even you might not have the most relevant experience, but maybe you're active on certain community or you are active on some DAOs or you are a holder. Uh, don't hesitate to put those things on your CV as well because um, this type of information can be very useful and will be very interesting to some of the founders.
Very interesting. Got it. So the takeaway here is that be active on socials, get your resume live. What else can candidates do to improve their chances of getting hired? And then how can they find jobs as well? That's another thing as well, right? I mean, if they're like, I think the same applies what we discussed for founders. Job boards, uh, um, uh, communities. But I have personal experience. So when like I told you, right, when my parents lost their jobs, I had to figure out work. So the first thing that I eventually did was I started applying, and Steph, I applied to like 300 jobs and no one even hired me. And then I had to eventually start my own business. In hindsight, that was a very good thing. But now I know why I wasn't being hired, because I was applying blindlessly. I was using the same resume for every job, and I wasn't being very personal, and I was just going through a traditional method. Now, if I were to look for a job today, I won't even apply. I would just go and talk to the founder directly, because as a candidate, you should know who is the decision maker, right? You should, like, if it's a big company, then it's a different process. But if it's startup, just message the founder directly, get them on a call and convince them, because founders, they're looking for people who can get them results, and if you can convince them to get the results, uh, they'll hire you. And I think that is something I did not knew 6-7 years ago, but now I know. But now I'm not looking for a job. Amazing. What else can candidates do to get? But I think one thing is that it's good, right? As you start applying to more jobs, again, it helps build resilience, because people are okay. There's something that I think you can touch on as active versus passive applying. Some people are like, oh, I saw a job, I'll apply, and look. They don't even take a time to make their resume relevant, or to add a loom, just something, a simple thing, or just send an email or a message to the people at the company. So what do you think? What does applying actively increase your chances rather than applying passively? Are you familiar with the difference, right?
Yeah, I think like a lot of my candidates, they will definitely reach out DM and like for example, especially for engineers, they would just go to the Discord and ask, hey, is your team hiring? I think in the Web3 space, this kind of action is very much welcome. The other thing is like reach out to people in the TG group as well. Like is there are a lot of people there who are very active, and there are a lot of job sharing groups on TG that you can reach out and tag along with your CV and your one liner, and just say, hey, I'm looking for a job. I've been with this space for how many years, and what are the track record that I've achieved for the past XYZ time. It will be like a lot of people will just DM you and respond your message.
Got it. So the summary here is that make sure you know what the company that is hiring is looking for. Don't just assume that you are suitable. Ask them questions and then showcase what they're looking for. Work on your resume, be active on socials, and apply actively. And then make sure you do cold outreach. Cold outreach, when I speak from the perspective of sales, that's cold outreach. But it's very similar when applying, right? People don't really know that you exist, so you have to get them to know. Send personalized videos, just message founders, and just don't give up. Because one thing I've realized, Steph, is that people don't take massive action. They apply to 10 jobs, like, oh, I've done this, oh, it's not in my field. Like I've seen so many people there, but when I see them, it's like, you haven't applied enough. Like, apply to 500 jobs and then take a decision that rather you will get a job or not, and then take the learnings from that specific job and then improve your resume, and eventually you'll get hired. One thing I've learned is that people really don't know what they're looking for. That's another thing, right? They just want something to happen. They just want someone to hire them.
Yeah, echoing to something that you just shared, like accommodating your CV, I think is very much needed because the other thing that I realized within the Web3 space, the thing that different from the traditional job market is people were million different hats in one role. Like for example, someone doing marketing, he or she would be doing product or community. So make sure that you read through, like when you apply a job, you, of course, the best thing is if you could talk to the stakeholder, talk to the founders, really get to know like what's up on the role. The other thing is you read through the job description, find where your previous experience, what are the transferable skills that you can make yourself land on this role, and accommodate your CV according to that. That's very much needed. Oh, the other thing is, I've created a job personality test on our product, Job Ledger. It's based on psychology theory that I've learned in the course that I've taken. It's different from MBTI, where the job career personality test. It's basically like there are 6 different archetypes within different people. Someone is more convincing, enterprising, like yourself. Someone will be more artistic. So I encourage you guys taking the test, so you will know more about your strength and your personality. So you will be able to like know yourself better. Like you said, a lot of people don't know what they're applying for.
Amazing, amazing. So I'll add a link down in the description, or when you can go and apply to the test. Amazing, Steph. Before we wrap up, do you have any final advice for founders or candidates on crypto recruitment? And then talk about how they can reach out to you if they need help. Give them exact step-by-step guide if they want to work with you.
Sure. Well, like the advice that I would like to give, I understand for some of you, it's a very difficult time, because there are a lot of like market turbulence. Like don't give up, and just keep applying, being more proactive, reach out to people, don't be shy, expand your socials, like, and also like make sure that you turn on the open to jobs buttons on LinkedIn, so recruiters or HR will be able to reach out to you, and you can maximize your daily credits and sending out DMs to decision makers to helping you landing in a role. And yeah, good luck for the job hunting process. And also, like, if you guys would like to reach out to me, you can search me on LinkedIn, searching Steph Yeung, you'll be able to find me.
Amazing. I'll add all these links in the description. Thank you so much for that. Before I wrap up, just want to share a few things. Regardless of whatever happens at the macro level, right? That's very predictable. If you see the history of the past 100 or a couple of hundred of years, the market goes ups and down, right? That's very normal. But don't let that affect you. Stay optimistic. Keep working on your skills. Even in these markets, there are people hiring, there are people building businesses, there are people solving problems. So there's a lot of opportunity. That is something that I like to tell everyone. There is abundance in the world, right? Don't believe the media. Don't believe what the analyst is saying. I mean, in our religion, there's like that. There's a concept of faith that whatever is written for you will come to you. You don't have to worry about that. So don't worry about that. But that does not mean you sit back. You keep on improving your skills. You keep on becoming more qualified. And then maybe if you can't find something, maybe it's time to start something of your own. If you're a developer, launch your own software product. If you're a BD, start your own consulting company. So the opportunities are endless as long as you have belief and you take massive action. Nothing is impossible for you. So with that, we'll wrap up the episode. Thank you so much, Steph, for coming on. I personally learned a lot about Web3 hiring, and I hope that the people watching might also learn something. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much.